Hiruzen Sarutobi. He was the third Hokage, a warm-hearted person who saw the village as his home and its people as his family. This was especially clear in the way he handled Orochimaru and Danzo, showing kindness and mercy. However, as the longest-serving Hokage of the Leaf Village, he had lived through many great wars, and his strategies ran much deeper than they appeared. He was known as the Professor of the Ninja World, mastering all 5 chakra natures and various jutsu types. His students were none other than the granddaughter of the first Hokage, Tsunade, along with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. The 3 of them did not disappoint him. They became the legendary Sannin of the Leaf Village, earning fame across the world. Later, during the Third Great Ninja War, under Hiruzen's leadership, the Leaf Village was filled with powerhouse shinobi. There were the legendary Sannin, the Yellow Flash, Shisui of the Body Flicker, and the White Fang. Each of these names alone was enough to strike fear into enemies. The Leaf Village was strong enough to fight against the other 4 nations and often had the upper hand, though the cost was heavy, with many brave ninja losing their lives. Eventually, Hiruzen stepped down as Hokage. However, his decision to resign wasn't due to weakness, but because he believed there was someone truly exceptional who could carry on the role, Minato. Minato understood the will of fire. Though still young and inexperienced, Minato had great potential, and even after stepping down, Hiruzen continued to guide him for a while. Not long after, Minato's wife, Kushina, became pregnant. Since a Jinchuriki weakens during pregnancy, the seal on the tailed beast becomes fragile. Now, we just want to take a moment to sincerely thank all of our viewers for supporting our channel. And we want you to know that we always read all of your comments and truly appreciate your suggestions and feedback. We are aiming to reach 10K subscribers, and we really need your help. Please support us by hitting the subscribe button, liking, and sharing our videos. Your support is our biggest motivation to keep growing and bringing you more exciting content. Alright, next. To ensure their safety, Hiruzen arranged for Minato and Kushina to stay in a hidden location far from the village for the birth. However, the Ninetales broke free and attacked the village, causing massive destruction and countless casualties. During this tragedy, Minato and Kushina sacrificed themselves to protect the village and seal the beast once more, leaving behind their son, Naruto. After the Ninetales rampage, the village began rebuilding, and the position of Hokage couldn't remain vacant for long. The third Hokage returned to take on the responsibility once again. As time passed, the village slowly recovered, but Hiruzen faced 2 major dilemmas regarding Minato's son. Minato and Kushina had sacrificed their lives to save the village, so Naruto should have grown up surrounded by love and respect, but instead, he was the Jinchuriki of the Ninetales. If his identity was revealed to enemies, he would be in grave danger. The best way to protect him was to conceal his true lineage, allowing him to grow up as a normal child while secretly watching over him. That meant Naruto couldn't be raised in wealth or privilege. It sounded like a solid plan, but in reality, it was a complete disaster. No one knew Naruto was the son of the 4th Hokage, but everyone knew he was the Jinchuriki of the Ninetales. The things that should have been hidden weren't, while the things that didn't need to be hidden were kept secret. The villagers' hatred for the Ninetales was unfairly dumped onto Naruto. For someone as wise as the 3rd Hokage, this whole situation seems a bit odd. But maybe that's just how the author wanted it to be. When Naruto became a ninja, Hiruzen gave him an incredibly well-balanced team. He chose Kakashi as his teacher, a former student of Minato, Naruto's father. If Naruto was ever in danger, Kakashi would be there to protect him. His teammate was Sasuke, the last surviving Uchiha with enormous potential. And finally, there was Sakura, a girl with excellent academic performance. Thus, the legendary Team 7 was born. Time passed, leading up to the Chunin exams, but this time, Orochimaru returned. The Leaf Village had security measures in place. Normal people couldn't just sneak in. However, the Chunin exams brought in a huge influx of outsiders, making it the perfect opportunity. Orochimaru managed to isolate the third Hokage and challenged him to a death match. He even summoned the first and second Hokage using Edo Tensei. This put Hiruzen in a nearly impossible situation, forcing him to use the Forbidden Reaper death seal. It was a life-for-life technique. He sacrificed himself in this battle. Later, during the Fourth Great Ninja War, Orochimaru regained his arms and revived all 4 Hokage. This time, they fought for the Leaf Village and for the entire ninja world. In a way, Hiruzen was brought back to life at the very moment his student finally chose to make things right. Asuma Kurenai's lover, and later, they even had a daughter named Mirai. Despite his rough exterior, Asuma was actually a very thoughtful person. He once planned to buy flowers for Kurenai, but when his students figured it out, he got embarrassed and walked away like a shy teenager. He was the son of the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Asuma wasn't a prodigy. He didn't have any Keki Genkai, nor did he possess skills like the 8 Gates or Sage Mode. But even without those, he was strong enough to be one of the top Jonin in the Leaf Village. He took on the responsibility of training Team Shikamaru. He was a dedicated teacher who always looked out for his students, ensuring their safety in dangerous situations. For example, when Orochimaru infiltrated the village and Shikamaru was chasing after Gaara, Asuma chose to leave the main battle at the arena and rushed to assist his student instead. At this moment, Shikamaru was completely surrounded by 9 enemy Chunin and was on the verge of losing it. Just in time, Asuma swooped in, exhaled a puff of smoke into the air like a total badass, casually knocked one guy away, and then proceeded to pummel the rest with sheer brute strength. Even though he was only fighting some small fries, his fighting style was effortlessly cool. The cigarette hanging from his lips, the tanned skin, the rugged aura, it all added to his roguish charm. Asuma managed to save Shikamaru, but when he returned to the village, his father, the third Hokage, had already sacrificed himself. After attending the funeral, Asuma stood in front of the Hokage's memorial stone, and at that moment, he finally understood the meaning of the word king that his father had once spoken of. He used to think that in terms of a nation, king meant power and reputation, and for the village, it meant the Hokage. But if that were true, then why had the third Hokage given up his own life in battle? What was it that he was truly trying to protect? And then, Asuma thought back to his own choice, leaving the main battlefield, leaving the Hokage behind, to go and protect his students. That was when the answer hit him. The king was like a piece in a game of shogi. If it was taken, the game was over. The Hokage could fall, and another would rise to take his place. But the true king was the younger generation, the future of the Leaf Village. As long as the children endured, the village would always stand strong. At that moment, Asuma resolved to follow in his father's footsteps, to dedicate his life to protecting the king. The will of fire was passed down once again, but as time went on, the enemies only became stronger. In the Shippuden arc, Asuma encountered 2 unbelievably powerful members of the Akatsuki, Haiden and Kakuzu. At this point, the Leaf had already had a few run-ins with the Akatsuki, and since Chiyo and Sakura had actually managed to take down Sasori last time, the village might have started thinking that the Akatsuki weren't all that tough. So this time, Asuma was the only top-level Jonin in the team. On top of that, his squad got split up, and only Shikamaru was with him. Alongside them were 2 side characters, Kotetsu and Izumo, the 2 guys who had disguised themselves as troublemakers during the Chunin exams. During their battle against the Akatsuki, those 2 didn't contribute much. To make matters worse, their opponents, Haiden and Kakuzu, were on a completely different level from Sasori. Both of them were essentially immortal. After witnessing Haiden's abilities, Asuma immediately realized that he and 3 Chunin were no match for them. The power gap was just too overwhelming. Even escaping was going to be difficult. If they tried to run without fighting, they'd all be slaughtered. The only option was to fight defensively, find a way to escape, and stall for time until reinforcements arrived. But backup was going to take 30 minutes to get there. Shikamaru quickly grasped Asuma's plan, and with his strategic mindset from playing shogi, he understood that Asuma was making a very risky move. It was a gambit, deliberately positioning his piece in enemy territory because he had support coming from behind. This would make the opponent hesitate to make a move, ultimately giving them the advantage. Their objective was to hold out for 30 minutes, so there was no need to go all out and risk everything. In terms of close combat, Asuma actually had the upper hand. His wind-release chakra blades were superior to Hidan's scythe. But then, the weakest link in the team became the biggest problem, those two useless side characters. When the enemy hurled a giant scythe at them, they couldn't even block it properly. Asuma pulled back to rescue his teammates, but ended up getting grazed by Hidan's scythe. It was just a small wound, barely anything, but that was enough. The moment Asuma's blood touched the scythe, the ritual was already in motion. Shikamaru immediately sprang into action, pouring all his strength into his shadow possession jutsu to stop Hidan from stabbing himself in the heart. His brain was working at full speed, analyzing every small detail of the battle. He carefully noted Hidan's words, curse, ritual, preparation, along with his actions, like licking the blood and drawing that strange symbol on the ground. In just a short amount of time, Shikamaru pieced it all together. Hidan's technique only worked inside that circle. The guy had a big head, but not much going on inside, talking way too much and practically handing over the answer. Wasting no time, Shikamaru used his shadow to force Hidan out of the ritual circle. What followed was straight out of a horror movie. Hidan's head separated from his body. Sounds gruesome, but it didn't really matter. His immortality kept him alive, though now he was just a talking head on the ground, completely immobilized. But the team made a huge mistake. They forgot about Kakuzu. Asuma was critically injured, Shikamaru was exhausted and barely holding on, and the other two? Yeah, still just background characters. Kakuzu swooped in, grabbed Hidan's head, and stitched it right back onto his body like it was nothing. Then, without breaking a sweat, he reached out and grabbed Kotetsu and Izumo by their throats, one in each hand, lifting them up like a pair of helpless chickens. Hidan stepped back into the ritual circle and activated his jutsu. Without hesitation, he plunged his pike straight into his own body, meaning Asuma suffered the same fatal wound. However, the team had managed to hold out for over 30 minutes, and just in time, reinforcements finally arrived. Asuma's remaining two students, Choji and Ino, along with two Jonin, rushed onto the battlefield. Of course, Jonin were way more useful than Chunin. At the very least, they could actually exchange a few blows with Hidan. But it was too late. Asuma had already taken a fatal wound. With his last moments, Asuma spoke to Shikamaru, explaining the true meaning behind the word king. He lit one last cigarette, took a slow drag, and exhaled softly. Konohamaru, I is the grandson of the third Hokage. Your uncle was one of the 12 guardian ninja of the Land of Fire. Even though your parents never appeared in the series, it was mentioned that they were the right and left hands of the third Hokage. The people in the village call you Konohamaru-sama. Just from that title alone, it's obvious that with your family background, you'd have to moonwalk like Michael Jackson just to start at the same line as everyone else. But Konohamaru didn't want to live like that. He knew that everything he had was because he was the grandson of the third. He wanted to use his own strength to become Hokage and earn everyone's recognition. But he was still young and naive, and his actions were questionable at best. Every day, he tried to ambush the third Hokage 20 times as a way to defeat him. Of course, it never worked. One day, he met Naruto, and the two became brothers. The first jutsu Naruto ever taught him was the legendary Sexy no Jutsu, an absolute masterpiece. That day, Konohamaru matured a lot. The kid was a fast learner, definitely had some talent. At first, his sexy jutsu was more of a nightmare fuel, but after just one afternoon of practice, he reached a level where the anime had to censor it, and from that day on, he swore to master it. Naruto told the boy, "If you want to earn the title of Hokage, you have to defeat me first." That was the second thing Naruto taught Konohamaru. Konohamaru enrolled in the Ninja Academy and began his journey to becoming Hokage. By the time Shippuden started, he was already wearing his ninja headband. He had graduated from the academy and officially became a genin. The day Naruto returned to the village, Konohamaru immediately ran to welcome him. He even cleaned Naruto's house and made it spotless. Then, of course, he asked Naruto to teach him a new jutsu. And this time, Naruto taught the kid an A-rank jutsu, Rasengan. Konohamaru didn't just learn it for show, he actually used it in battle. When Pain invaded the village, while rescuing people, Konohamaru suddenly came face to face with Pain's Naraka path. At that moment, Ibisu appeared to save Konohamaru. Even though he had once looked down on Naruto, he was a truly respectable teacher. His priority was to protect his student. Ibisu sacrificed himself, giving Konohamaru a chance to escape. Now, Konohamaru had to make a choice: run away and seek revenge later, or charge in and fight to the death. He chose to fight and could even defeat that path. Later, when Obito declared the Fourth Great Ninja War, Konoha also went into preparation mode. According to orders, Jonin would go to the front lines, while Genin had to stay back in the village. Konohamaru was frustrated and asked Shikamaru why he wasn't allowed to join the fight. Shikamaru was like, "Once you understand the meaning of king, we'll talk. Don't rush it. I only figured it out myself not long ago." Later on, Konohamaru accidentally ran into Tamari. He thought, "If I can defeat a Jonin, why shouldn't I be allowed to fight?" So he challenged Tamari to a duel. But let's be real, Tamari was one of the first to become a Jonin in her generation, using weapons and shadow clones against her. Even Tenten, a weapons expert, couldn't beat her back then. So obviously, Konohamaru's normal attacks were useless. In the end, he had no choice but to use Rasengan. However, right before he could land the final hit, Shikamaru stopped him. Konohamaru was pissed and demanded to know why. Why? 'Cause she's gonna be my wife one day? Shikamaru didn't say that. Instead, he got slapped by Moegi. With tears in her eyes, Moegi questioned him. "If we all go to the battlefield, who will protect the village?" At that moment, Konohamaru finally understood. He grasped the true meaning of king. The adults fought on the front lines to protect the younger generation, and the younger generation had to stay behind and protect those even weaker than them. However, after this battle, Tamari acknowledged Konohamaru's strength. Since Konohamaru didn't join the Fourth Great Ninja War, he didn't appear much in the later story. But we can still wait for the day he becomes Hokage. After all, we still have Boruto, the next generation. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Kurenai Yuhi. It's a shame that we never got to see Asuma and Kurenai's wedding, but there's no denying she was already part of the Sarutobi clan. Honestly, Asuma and Kurenai were kind of childhood sweethearts. They met back when they first entered the academy and had always had a good relationship since then. Later on, when the Ninetales broke free from Kushina, Kurenai wanted to fight to protect the village. But both her father and Asuma stopped her. After all, ninja life was unpredictable. One day you're here, the next day you're gone. That's why the village always prioritized protecting women, children, and the future of the Hidden Leaf. Still, it was obvious that Asuma really wanted her to be safe. She became a Jonin a little later than others, but she was still very skilled. She just didn't get much screen time. And when she did, it was during a genjutsu battle against an Uchiha. And not just any Uchiha, the strongest genjutsu user, Itachi. Going up against him in a genjutsu battle? She lost the moment the fight started, but honestly, what else could she have done? Genjutsu was her specialty, and all of her databook stats always rated her genjutsu a perfect 5-5. So yeah, she was just unlucky. Newly promoted to Jonin, and the first enemy she faced was a top tier. What's sad is that she never got to show off her genjutsu skills in Naruto again. Because of that, many fans started seeing her talent as just hype with no real proof. Her screen time kept getting smaller and smaller, and from what we can assume, she probably stepped back from the battlefield completely to focus on raising and protecting her and Asuma's child. Mirai. This is Mirai, the daughter of Asuma and Kurenai. Like father, like daughter. She inherited the best traits from both of her parents and even got Asuma's signature chakra blades. Since these are close combat weapons, we can safely say that her taijutsu is really good. Sharingan can predict enemy movements? Yeah, well, even Sarada's Sharingan couldn't find a single flaw in her fighting style. Okay, sure, Sarada was still young at the time, and her Sharingan wasn't fully developed yet. But still, that says a lot about Mirai's skill. As for chakra nature, just like her father, she has a natural talent for wind release. She even trained under Temari, the princess of the Sand Village and a wind release master, learning long-range techniques. On top of that, she can also use fire release, capable of creating huge fire pillars from just a single spark. Then again, the Sarutobi clan has always been fire-style specialists, second only to the Uchiha, but her most unique talent? Her genjutsu skills, inherited from Kurenai. In fact, she's even recognized as one of the best genjutsu users in the Hidden Leaf. And get this, even Sarada Uchiha, with her famous Sharingan, once fell right into Mirai's trap. Her genjutsu activation is so insanely fast that by the time her opponents realize what's happening, they're already caught. Biwako. She was actually the wife of the third Hokage. We don't have much information about her, but here's what we do know. When she was a young girl, Biwako lived in the newly founded Hidden Leaf Village and studied at the Ninja Academy. Later, she married Hiruzen Sarutobi. When Kushina Uzumaki was about to give birth, Biwako, a highly experienced and trusted kunoichi, was chosen to be her midwife. Unfortunately, after safely delivering baby Naruto, Biwako was murdered by Obito Uchiha, the masked man behind the attack. Not just her, but the entire Anbu squad guarding the area was wiped out as well. Just like her husband, Biwako dedicated her life to the Hidden Leaf, until the very end. Alright, that's all for this episode. If you want me to make a video about any other topic or a specific character, just leave a comment below.